All right, let's jump right in. We're going to take one single, incredibly dramatic verse from the book of Revelation, and we're going to unpack it in two totally different ways. We'll start with the microscopic details of the words and then zoom all the way out to the telescopic view of what it all might mean.
Here it is, Revelation 12, verse 2. Just listen to the power in that language. Cried, travailing, pained. It's so intense, right? And that's completely on purpose. It's designed to paint a really powerful picture in your mind.
And yeah, the picture you get right away is pretty unmistakable. It's about deep physical suffering. It's raw, it's visceral, and it taps into this universal experience of pain that leads to new life.
But you know, that's just what's on the surface. What if this very human, very physical description is actually a kind of code for a much bigger, even cosmic story? That's the question we're going to dig into today by looking at this one verse through two very different lenses. So first up, we're putting this verse under the microscope. We're going to get into its lexical anatomy. Basically, we're going to look at the very specific Greek words the author chose to build this picture of suffering.
The incredible punch this verse packs is no accident. It's carefully built from a series of 3 verbs, and each one adds another layer to the agony. So let's break them down.
Okay, the first word here for cried is craze. Now this isn't just making a sound, it's a desperate shout. Think of a cry for help, an urgent, piercing call that comes from pure distress. It immediately sets the tone. This is an emergency.
Next, we've got odinusa, which is translated as travailing in birth. This word is so specific. It doesn't just mean general pain. No, it refers directly to the unique, all-consuming agony of labor pains. So now, the suffering has a very specific cause.
And finally, the word for pained is besanizomene, and this word is extreme. Its root is literally the Greek word for torture. So this isn't just pain anymore, this is torment. The author is using this to push the level of suffering to a place that's almost unbearable. So you see the progression, right? It starts with a desperate cry, which we find out is caused by the unique pain of labor, and then it gets ramped up into pure torment. The author is using every tool in the linguistic toolbox to paint a picture of just absolute anguish. Okay, so we've got our microscopic view down, a literal, gut-wrenching description of childbirth. But now, we're going to switch gears completely. We're going to pull the camera way back and see how this very specific physical pain can represent something so much bigger. So, let's put away the microscope and grab the telescope. We're zooming out from the individual words to look at the huge, symbolic landscape, the world of metaphor and theology.
In this view, the woman isn't a literal person. She represents this massive turning point, the suffering and struggle it takes to give birth to a new spiritual reality, moving from an old way of being to a new one.
And those 3 types of suffering we just examined? Well, in this interpretation, they're seen as direct parallels to the suffering of Jesus on the cross. The desperate cry, the labor of bringing forth something new, in this case the church, and the torment of carrying the weight of the world's sin.
And this connection isn't just pulled out of thin air. You can see it right here in Matthew's Gospel. Just like the woman lets out that desperate cry of crazy, Jesus cries out with a loud voice at that ultimate moment of transition.
And what happens right after that cry? The veil of the temple is torn in two. In this symbolic reading, that is the moment of delivery. The barrier between God and humanity is ripped open, birthing a brand new age of direct access. And then, of course, you have those famous final words, "It is finished." That's the moment the suffering ends, the labor is over, the pain has achieved its purpose, the delivery is complete, and the new era has begun.
So we've got these 2 views, right? The microscopic, word-for-word one, and the telescopic, symbolic one. But here's the cool part. They aren't in conflict. Not at all. In fact, they work together to create the verse's true power.
And this is where it all clicks into place. The grand theological symbol of a new age being born, it only has an impact because it's grounded in the raw, intense, and very specific language of human suffering. The abstract idea gets all its power from that visceral reality.
So let's just do a quick recap of our journey. We started super small with the nitty-gritty of the Greek words. Then we zoomed out to see the huge symbolic story they might be telling. And finally, we saw how those two are deeply connected, how the tiny details give all the life and power to the big picture.
And you know, this is such a powerful tool to have.
This method, starting with the specific, concrete details to really get a handle on a big, abstract idea, that's a key that can unlock meaning not just here, but in any complex text you come across.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. How does knowing the sheer, brutal intensity of those three Greek words, the cry, the labor, the torment, how does that change the way you see the grand, symbolic story of a new world being born?